Greetings, Marsh here, and welcome to episode 105 of my modded Factorio playthrough. Enjoy! Now, I don't think we need any of this stuff anymore, since we have patterns for it, so we can use the robots to pick all of that up. Although, it still would be nice to have these fuel belts in the same spot, so perhaps don't pick it up. Let's replace the train with a tanker. See, do we have any spare tanks? Doesn't look like it. Alright, let's drop them in. And let's use the robots to clear out the irrelevant portions. So basically all of this gets removed. Yeah, let's get rid of that too. We'll fix that later. So we haven't really dealt with fluids that much in fluid tankers, but you can take a tanker, it's normally 3 tanks combined into one, but you can kind of do this and split them into 3 separate tanks if you want that. But my idea is to have big trains of mostly the same product, so we're probably going to keep these connected for the most part. Then they do have the logistics grid if you want to do that. But also it's important to note that I'm using the older version of Factorio where the trains are a lot stronger. They hold, I believe, 75,000 fluid each, rather than their nerfed version. So if you were using this exact same factory, these numbers wouldn't be exactly the same with the modern version. But in this version they work, and this would still work in the current version, so I'm not going to change this around. It would still be fine. We are going to need some storage tanks. Looks like I need a lot more steel. But we haven't really dealt with fluid much, so we haven't really had to talk about like the dynamics of fluid and how wonky they are in Factorio. It's especially relevant when you have very high flow rates and very large factories. But the same concept applies as it does to inserters and chests. And that is taking fluids from one container into another container, or from a container to a pipe. Basically, as long as there's at least 1 or 2 containers involved, it's much faster than doing it in other ways. So we want to unload directly from the tank, the tanker, to another tank. And we use pumps for that. Do we have any spares? We do have a few. We need a lot more than 3. But basically, the way the pump works is each one of these little tanks on the wagon can have 1 pump attached to it. And you can kind of see it in effect by applying power to it and then hooking a pump up. So you see, and sometimes the positioning has to be just right for this to work, so if the train isn't in the exact right spot, it won't. But you see how we can place it on this lower section. We can place it on that higher section. Or we can place it from the other side. But we can't do 2. It doesn't work. You can only do 1 pump per tanker. So that's something to keep in mind. Or 1 pump per tank on the tanker anyway. So a maximum of 3. So the best speed of unloading is going to happen when we go from the tanker to a tank. Now it's not going to connect because it doesn't have power, but just imagine that it will. So the best possible speed is when we're going from here to here with no pipes in between, not a single pipe. I think the speed of this is, I think that you get the full speed of the pump, which I believe is 12,000 liquid per second. So if we had 3 pumps on each car, and they go at 12,000. And the car only holds 75,000, which is the buffed higher number compared to Factorio as it now. It means that the train is only going to take about 2 seconds in the train station to fully unload itself before it leaves. It's extremely fast. This compares to our red belts. Now, I didn't do the math on how long it would take that train to get unloaded with red belts, but I think it's on the order of about 5 minutes that a 6-car train being unloaded with 6 red belts takes about 5 minutes to unload. But this is extremely fast, so you want to try to design it so it'll be fast. But note, now you can look online for the exact numbers. I don't know exactly what they are. But let's say you did something like this, where there's 3 things here. That reduces the speed of this pump from 12,000 to like 3,000 or something like that, just because of these 3 pipes. You get the best possible liquid performance by having the least number of pipe segments. And they could be a standard segment like this or an underground. Like an underground, this is only 2 pipes right here because it's pipe number 1, pipe number 2, regardless of the distance underground. But this is 3. But if we take all that away, just put this back here, this is 0 sections. And this is as fast as it possibly could be. And you always want to design liquids to be as fast as reasonably possible with your setup. There's no reason not to. Because if you run into flow problems with your pipes, they can be very difficult to fix. Especially if you've already placed miles and miles of pipes. We basically are going to need enough of a buffer to support this car. Because like with the treasure chest, we needed to have 3/4 spaces open on each chest so we can hold an entire train's full of product. Well, this is in the unbuffed version, or the buffed version, 75,000 liquid, which is exactly 3 storage tanks. So we need 3 storage tanks for every car. But you notice that these storage tanks are kind of big, and we can't place them all on one side, so we have to kind of split them between the sides. So let's start from the bottom here. Probably need a lot more pumps. But if we connect on the bottom on this one, the bottom on that one, note how we can put a tank there and a tank there, and they don't touch. We don't want any fluid mixing unless it's intentional. But if we tried to do that same thing, well, I guess it would fit. I was thinking it wouldn't fit, but it looks like it does. It might be better to alternate them, though, for pipe balancing. I'm not sure if it would matter, but it might. So let's alternate them on each side. So every other car is going to have 2 pumps on this side. We need lots more tanks than that. There we go. And then this side is going to have alternating. There we go. And then we just need 1 pump on this other side. I don't think the positioning matters that much since there's only the 1. But it kind of does, though. If we place it up by 1 space, it'll be nice balanced groups of 3s, which look cool. That thing just doesn't look like it's in the right spot, but something tells me it is. Oh yeah. Just need to connect power to find out. So if we place this up there, I believe we need a couple more tanks. I'm not sure exactly how many. Just make 5 for now. Make them all look the same, pointing the same direction. Okay. Now, to get good performance getting out of these tanks, we're also going to need a pump. Similar to how we have an inserter on each side of a chest, we need an inserter on each side of a tank. So I believe that's a 18 pumps. And there can't be any pipes in here to get maximum performance. They have to be directly connected, so they still have to be straight like this. There we go. Now, this next section is kind of obligatory, but we have to determine how many pipes are going to come out of this thing in total. And it's kind of an obligatory number, so let's just go with 6 since we had 6 red belts. Let's do 6 pipes. So if we do something like this, and use undergrounds whenever possible because they reduce the pressure loss for each pipe. Let's see, I'm wondering exactly how to do it. It might depend on how close is it in size to our other setup. So it looks like it's already going to be 1 square bigger. Yeah, let's try that. And then now that we have our 3 combined pipes, we need more pumps. Looks like I'm actually out of motors. So there's the output for that series of 3. And then the output for that series of 3. Oops. Those should be underground, though. The reason why I'm using these basic pipes is because we're not going to save any pipes by having an underground there. So there's no real reason to do it. So let's put that right there. Okay, those look good. So I believe we need another 3, but we have them, so let's keep going. And it's not particularly relevant yet, because we're not really going to be dealing with liquids in the immediate future. But it's nice to have this blueprint all figured out, so it's ready to go when we need it. Looks like I didn't do that quite the same as I did on that other side, so not sure if there would be much a difference. I see. Yeah, I did it off to the side here. There we go. Just for symmetry reasons, I'd like it to be as close as possible. Oops. Okay. Yep. I think that's good. Certainly looks like it. And then what to do with these pipes, who knows? Doesn't really matter. There's going to be some... Like, the position of this train station kind of depends on the alignment of this belt. So there's going to be some space here reserved for balancers for belts, and pipes can get what they need to get done much easier and in smaller of a space than belts do, so it's not really important. But let's just extend these out, and I'm going to extend them at their maximum distance, simply because for maximum performance we want the least number of undergrounds. So in this case, symmetry is less important than performance. So something like that. And that's basically just to mark we've got 6 pipes in the design. Yeah, and they're not going to be completely lined up because of reasons, but they're lined up here. Let's test this. Let's make sure that it can be placed next to another train station without any fluids mixing. So you see, it would be placed like this. And it doesn't look like it. The place that they would mix would be up top right here. And it looks like it's done just in a way where mixing will not happen on that side. So let's check the other side. Well, the answer is basically the same. It looks good. Excellent. Okay. Let's get some power in here. Let's pick up some spares we should still have available. I don't know if there's a really good way of doing this. Probably just putting the power lines on each side of these tanks, just for symmetry. Let's do it on this side as well. But they don't quite reach like that. I don't know how important it is that they do. It's probably slightly important. So let's move these over. It's kind of difficult to walk in here because of all the pipes, but that's kind of unavoidable. There might be a way of using slightly less power lines, but since that doesn't matter for performance, I want symmetry and straightness. That looks pretty straight. So the last thing are these little guys out here. We could probably just do it with a power line in the corner like this. Oh, and that guy just barely can't be reached, so that is there we go, put it up there. It's kind of a reason for asymmetry to make that work. And then it's receiving power from this, but that wouldn't normally be there, so that has to be there. Okay, let's see. Do the train stations share power properly? If we put them right next to each other. Why is it not aligned properly now? Oh, I see. Those pipes aren't in the same spots. That was good to check now. But, well, it's kind of hard to tell with this guy here. So let's get rid of that and modify this design not to have it. Now let's see. See, the power does not reach. So will it reach if we make them one square wider? Let's fix this. Let's see. Lined up. Better. Looks like the power poles continue to not reach, but they do actually reach naturally in other places up here. So actually, these probably aren't necessary anymore. The only exception is getting power to the inserter, which we can do, I think, if we move this guy one space down. Okay. And let's do some lights. Let's try the alternating setup we did before. I believe we started in the bottom left. Yep, and we worked our way up. So like right there, and then right there. Just kind of alternate back and forth here. There we go. Looks good for lights. We just need to extend the fuel line out. It's pretty straightforward. It just goes straight across. And we need the same for up here. It just goes straight across. Looking good. I think that's the complete station. It's not really relevant, so we can make modifications. I just wanted to get this taken care of now so we can stick it in our blueprint book. I think it's good. Let's pick up everything. Let's make sure it's repeatable. It is. Okay, let's modify this. Let's keep the tank there and say this is for an unload station. And to make it a loading station is quite simple. We just reverse the directions of all the pumps. Now, unfortunately, they're not going to load completely evenly because liquids. And I think it's more trouble than it's worth to do that. So if we reverse all these, when the liquids come in, they're going to come in through here. Even if it's balanced, which it's not going to be, but even if it's balanced when it gets here, it's going to all want to go into this one first because it's right here. So it's going to fill up this one first, and then this one, and then this one. So it's not going to be even, but hopefully because we have an alternating pattern left and right, hopefully it spreads the load around. Like, I actually really don't like liquids in Factorio liquids. I think the way they're programmed is kind of dumb and doesn't make a lot of sense. You should be able to hover over a pipe and see what the throughput is on that pipe, not just guess, basically. So through laziness and or frustration, I think I will be completely fine with just reversing the direction of all these pumps and saying, okay, it's good. Now we have a loading station. Okay, let's do the walk around to make sure all the arrows are pointing the right way. That one is not. Okay, looks good. Let's blueprint it. Pick all that up. Get rid of that guy. Let's call this an unloading station. So we should have our... Oh. But except this is a loading station. L. There we go. So we have our loading station right here, and then the unloading station. Looks good. Throw it in the blueprint book. And with that, we've basically got all of our basic blueprints down, all of our basic patterns necessary to move on from here. So we can clear all this up. Of course, let robots do all the hard work. There's no reason for humans to do it. That's all the time we have for today, so I'll see you on the next episode. Thanks for watching.